Hi everybody, welcome back to Charlene Eats Clean. I'm Charlene, eating clean. So today I'm going to do a recipe for you that my mom made when I was growing up. I'm going to do my mom's original cabbage recipe. And it just so happens that the recipe is gluten-free because all it is cabbage and meat. So let's get started, shall we? Today what we're going to need for this recipe is, we'll need a head of cabbage, we'll need some baking soda, some water, and some pork or any meat of your choice. If you don't want pork, you can use smoked turkey wings. When my mother got older and wanted to reduce her pork intake, she would use smoked turkey wings. What I do is when I make the cabbage, I season them with this pork, but when it's time to eat it, I pick around the pork and I just pull out the vegetables. Now I do have a friend who likes all that right there. So whenever I make cabbage, I just leave it in and I, let it be of the person who's eating it. Let it be their choice. All right, let's get started. So I'm gonna wash my hands because I've touched the pork. Even though I'm gonna touch cabbage that's going in the pork, I just still wanna wash my hands. So the first thing we're going to do is pick off the outer leaves of the cabbage. We'll pick the outer leaves off of the cabbage. All right. Wow, look at these little tiny Brussels sprouts that have grown inside that cabbage head. You see that? I have a Brussels sprout recipe that I'll do for you later. But look at that. Because Brussels sprouts are just really like little bitty cabbage. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. So I just take off all these outer leaves. And it's going to be a little grimy because it came from outside. So don't worry about the dirt, okay? We'll work around that too. Now, sometimes I can wash, and when I say wash, I'm talking about rinse. I remember one time my mom had my cousins babysit us, and one of my cousins, she had told us to wash the peas and have them ready for her to cook when she got home. Well, one of my cousins decided to use dish detergent to wash the peas. And I said, no, Mama doesn't do them like that. I'm going to finish the story in a bit. I'm just going to show you what I'm doing. So I take my knife and I run it down the stem to get the hard stem out of the cabbage leaf, okay? And I throw that out. So I'm going to do this with the rest of them as I tell you my story. So I told her, I said, Mama doesn't do them like that. She doesn't wash peas like that. She said, I'm in charge. She told me to wash the peas and I know what I'm doing. I said, okay. I was younger, so I left it alone. She was a teenager, okay? And so when my mother got home and she was, getting ready to cook the peas, she put the peas in the pot. And when she put water in the pot, what I'm doing now is I'm rolling these. I've stacked up my leaves. I'm rolling them up like a cigar. And then I'm just going to slice them. And then I'll wash, quote unquote, the leaves after I'm done cutting. So my mother puts the peas in the pot and bubbles start coming up in the water. My mom was, what the heck is going on with these peas? And I said, well, your niece told me when I told her not to wash the peas with the soap, the dish detergent, she told me I did not know what I was talking about. And she washed them with dish detergent. She threw the whole pot away. She was so mad. She was so mad. I don't remember if my cousin got a beating that day or not, but if she was still at the house, she probably did. So I'm going to take these outer leaves, I'm going to put them in a colander, and I'm going to rinse, quote unquote, wash them. And I'll let them sit while I do the inside of the cabbage. So I have washed, quote unquote, the outer leaves. I'm going to place them over to the side and work on the inside. So here we go. I take the knife and I cut the bottom of the cabbage off and discard that, okay? Then I take the cabbage and I cut it in half. I take this core right here out of the cabbage. And I throw that out. If I have any leaves that I don't want to deal with, if they look bad, I just peel them off. Okay, then the next step is to take the cabbage and slice it. I use another colander to place these leaves in because I'm going to rinse them also. Okay, now for the second half. I'm going to take this over to the sink and rinse, quote unquote, wash the leaves, and I'll be right back. Okay, now that we have cabbage ready to go, I'm going to slice the fat back. I know it looks a little weird, but it tastes good. So I'm going to slice the fat back, then I'll put it in the pot with the salt pork and we'll cook it before we put the cabbage in. Okay, so now I'm going to meet you over at the stove. Okay, so now we're going to add the lighter colored green leaves to the pot. And I don't add more water at this point. You see there's a lot of liquid in the bottom. Some people waterlog their cabbage, and that's not good. So what you're doing really is you're steaming the cabbage. That's why you don't put very much water in it. You're just steaming the cabbage. My father, my dad, God rest his soul, was a lover of cabbage. He loved cabbage. He loved cabbage. He didn't like collard greens, but he loved cabbage. And when we were growing up, my mother would make collards, and she would make us eat them. Now, my dad died when I was very, very young, so I never knew that he didn't like collards. So we were growing up, Mama would make the collards, and she would try to make me eat them, and I just didn't like them. I just don't like collard greens. I'm sorry. I know. I get criticized about it. I know. Don't even say anything. But I just didn't like them, right? And so when I moved away from home to North Carolina, I would come home to visit, and my mom would, when I was on my way, when I called her to say I'm coming home, she'd say, okay, what do you want to eat? I know you don't want collards. Do you want me to make cabbage? I was like, yeah. So I would get home. One of my visits, I came home and my mom said to me, well, you know why you don't like collards, right? I said, no. She said, your daddy didn't like them. I said, well, why did you make me eat them all those years? You were force feeding me collards. She said, well, because they're good for you. I was like, okay, thanks, Mom. But anyway, so needless to say, in my adult life, she never tried to force me to eat collards. I'm going to let these stay in. It only takes about 5 minutes for these because you're steaming them. So we'll check them in about 5 minutes to see if they're ready, if they're tender. And if they are, turn off the heat. Turn it off. Just turn it off. All right. See you in 5. Don't they look good? Yummy. A couple more seconds and we'll be ready to go. They smell as good as they look. Wish you had some smell-o-vision. Alright, so I'm going to put a little bit of cabbage in the bowl and try to taste it for you because they're still hot, but I'm going to do it. I'm taking one for the team. Now I want you to see there's still liquid in the bottom of that pot. You see that? See, you're steaming these cabbage. You're not cooking them to death. And so now that they are cooked, those short little few minutes, I'm going to take them off the heat. And I'll meet you over here on the other side for a taste test. And here they are. My mom's original cabbage recipe. And I say original because I told you later on in life she switched from the pork seasonings to the smoked turkey to season her cabbage. They're still paleo and they're still eating clean because they're just two ingredients, mainly vegetables and meat. So I'm going to give it a taste. I'm Charlene saying always eat clean. Enjoy. Yummy. Makes me think of Mom. I'll see you next time.